What's going on, guys and girls? How you doing today? It's Inga Roleplay once again, and today I want to show you the build that I have planned for the Incursion League. And I believe I've settled up on this specific build because I find it very interesting. I've been basically messing around with several things, and I also scanned a bit of information of what people are actually playing right now on the leaderboards, on the Bestiary, on the Flashback, and I discovered an interesting variation of Riders Fire Cyclone build. They use a Cyclone with Dyadus access to buff burning damage incredibly, and basically kind of provides a huge buff to the Riders Fire. Paired with the Juggernauts, Berserkers, and Pathfinder ascendancies, there can be different variations of this build. With Juggernaut being with the most regeneration, obviously, and the highest uptime of endurance charges. With Berserker doing the biggest amount of damage, obviously, but being one of the lowest on the region. And with Pathfinder being the absolutely craziest move speed guy, obviously, but being on the lowest region side of things and having to rely on the surface last breath mana flask to recover and out region the degeneration of the Riders Fire. Pathfinder is obviously would be the fastest endgame build for this setup, but it will also be the most expensive, as the surface flask is not cheap at all, and the rest of the gear is pretty fucking expensive as well. Juggernaut will possibly be like maybe the easiest to make, even though we have shit like Calm's Way here, for example, and the Calm's Hard. But the rest is not that expensive, except maybe the Watcher's Eye, which is ridiculously expensive, and I'm not even sure I will be able to afford it. And the Incursion, but who knows, maybe I can do this. No one really knows. So I have different versions of this build, guys, and so far the numbers are absolutely fucking ridiculous. Only because of this infernal access, which is Dyadus. Now this is where all the fun begins, and I explain you why it is so ridiculous. Look at this and read it very closely. Enemies chilled by you take 100% increased burning damage. And when these Dyadus in an offhand, read closely once again, chill enemies for 1 second on hit with this weapon when in offhand. So basically when Dyadus in offhand, right, you hit the enemy with some kind of an attack, and it chills them for and they take increased burning damage from you. This is how it works. Another cool thing is when you dual wield this, you dual wield Dyadus. So you chill them with the offhand, which is on the right hand, right? And the first one is basically 100% increased burning damage buff to all the rest. So you have 200% increased burning damage when you dual wield this Dyadus. Now the biggest deal is how can you fucking hit the enemies? And one of the biggest hitting attacks is obviously the Cyclone, because it hits for quite a lot of attacks per second. And even though we will be pretty slow with the Juggernaut, we do not stack attack speed and a lot of move speed, but as far as I could figure out, it's pretty much enough for to apply the chill to the enemies and to proc the increased burning damage for the Riders Fire. So basically it's free link, Cyclone 45 life giving hit. This is another source of our life recovery. We also get 45 from this. On the falling, we have a high level cast wound damage taken with flammability, stone golem, and blood rage. Flammability can be lowered as well as cast wound damage taken. There is no way we can cast flammability on blasphemy, and the reason for this is we have to use vitality and purity of fire, so they will sustain the degen of Riders Fire. Another feeling is basically a trick. A low level ice spear, cast wound damage taken, and immortal con. And this is to proc elemental overload and occasional elemental equilibrium for the boss fights. This is literally the only thing that procs your elemental overload and elemental equilibrium. I have the same setup in my Shock Nova build, and it works. Actually, it works, guys, so it's not a problem at all. It's not the best and not very, you know, effective way to proc elemental equilibrium or the elemental overall, but it will work, and I think it will work on the bosses as well, because for trash you don't really need it. It will be indeed very cool to have some kind of, you know, cold snap here, but none of these spells have high crit effective critical strike chance, so unless you'll be using Orb of Storms with the increased critical strikes, you will not be able to proc elemental overload. But this one thing can proc both, actually. Even though, you know, elemental equilibrium will not be very effective, I'm still looking for ways actually to proc elemental equilibrium, but it will get a nerf as well in 3.3, so it's not really that crazy important, I think. So basically this, and this is the damage. This is the helm, obviously, with the essence crafted helm, with Rider's Fire, elemental focus, conk effect, or increase their effect and efficacy. So this is it. This is the helmet. This is it. So the biggest problem for this build will obviously be the fucking helmet, and the rest of the gear is pretty expensive as well. I mean, Comb's Way is around an Exalt in the Temporal League. Comb's Heart is what, 2 Exalts? The rest, Watcher's Eye can be extremely expensive, I guess. I have no fucking idea how I can afford this, but overall I think this is a pretty decent, you know, setup. And around 9,000 life with Comb's Heart as well. The rest of the jewels is mostly just fucking life, damage over time, burning damage, area damage, nothing crazy. And like I said, this is the damage on the Juggernaut, and I only have his enemy shield click as well as hit by cold damage, because we will infinitely hit them with the Dyadus cold damage in the main hand. That's about it. So basically Cyclone will alternate between the main hand and offhand as he spins, and I believe this is not a very effective way to proc elemental equilibrium. I think this is not very good way. I've seen one guide, and it's just one guide actually for such a build that I found, and this guide offers to use brutality in a Cyclone, so that you completely remove all kind of elemental damage from your Dyadus. I think it's really cool, but it also leaves me with without either fortify or live game on hit, which I absolutely don't want to make such a decision. So any of this I think will be good. Maybe I can drop live game and hit. I don't know what will happen, but this is the project so far. Like I said, the Juggernaut is the tankiest. I also have Berserker here, which obviously gives 1.4 million a second a ref, which is the fucking madness. This is ridiculous. And at 50 rage, I have 50 rage here. I have around 7k, 700 life regen per second, plus outside of degeneration that I have. This is not much, and this is one of the lowest regen that you can have. This is still not bad, but it's just not very good compared to almost 2000 on a Juggernaut. So this is less tanky build. The only difference is you're less tanky. You are attacking faster with the Cyclone because you get attack speed with the Rage as well. But at the same time you have much more damage, basically like 40% more damage. This is a silly amount here. And I'm not entirely sure which ones will I choose from this. I'm really tempting to try Berserker because this is still decent regen here, but I also get a lot of attack speed and a lot of procs for the live game hit as well. And the third is, and the absolutely craziest ever setup is basically the Pathfinder Cyclone build. It does the lowest damage out of all, but at the same time the move speed is absolutely devastating on this, as well as the flask up time and everything else. We are flask finders, right? So it's pretty. It also degenerates life, which is the main problem, and I haven't found even the ways to buff this. The only way how you can buff this is through the Marble Amulet, but at the same time the damage will drop even further because Gamaho Stick gives tremendous amount of fire damage. So you know, it can be done. Like for example, let's try this. I will take this Marble Amulet from my Jack. Oh, what do we have? This we have the Soul Locket. Okay, let's just take this, right? Let's take this and see what happens. Let's take this. Let's take this. That's to the build. Will I out-regen? Yeah, this is like the only way to out-regen pure life degeneration. But this is not the case for the build because there is Zephryr's Last Breath, which grants us increased life recovery with the mana cost as well. Now this is basically how the build sustained, because look at the Cyclone cost. 400 fucking mana. 400 mana. And why is this? This is because it's Fevered Mind Jewels, and this is one of the other reasons why this specific build is extremely fucking expensive. Look at this. There's Scepter is a fucking Exile, right? Even would put 2 Dyadus here. It's still a bit more, but it's not the case. This is Exile. This is 2 Exiles. This is like many Exiles. These are Pal Rings. Like, this belt is ridiculous. The cheapest I found was like 100 Exiles. This is impossible. Zephrys. How much is Zephrys now? I have no fucking idea how much Zephyr is, but I think it's very expensive. Taste of Hate as well, to mitigate some physical damage as well. So this is the expensive build and the does the least damage. It's also tied to Zephyr's Last Breath, but I think this is the absolute fastest speed farming build. This build is actually from the guy who made it to the level 100 in the Flashback event. That's why I was so over impressed with this setup, and this is basically one of the reasons how I discovered this setup and wanted to try it. So it's up to you to decide, guys, what do you think about this build, but I'm pretty hyped as I really want to test this ridiculous amount of Riders Fire burning shit. Thanks for watching and see you soon.